Welcome, 6th grade. So this is the last lesson of Chapter 1, the beginnings of civilization. All right. So the last time that we left off, we were talking about nomadic people and them moving around to different pastures to graze animals and follow them around. So now man has discovered that they can actually settle down, plant plants, and grow a civilization. So we see that the population begins to grow because of this. And why does the population grow? It's because we have a surplus of food. A surplus of food means that they have grown more food than they actually need, so they can dry it and store it for later use. So maybe if there's a drought that comes along, or there's it gets too cold too quickly and some of the crop dies, they have extra food for them. And because they have a surplus of food, they're able to create these villages and towns. So as population increases, so does the settlements. And now we be able to begin to see people switch their jobs. So they go from being a hunter-gatherer or a farmer to now that they can become an artisan or a worker who specializes in a skill. For example, metalworking, all right? So they could, or even basket weavers or potterers. These types of jobs are going to be very necessary for the upcoming civilizations. All right. So as the cities begin to grow, these early cities turn out to be larger than a settlement. A settlement is just a few people and such, a few families, whereas cities are more of a few hundred to a few thousand people. So they're on a scale they're much larger. They've built large buildings for multi-purpose uses. Some of which are housing the extra food. Some of them are like meeting houses for the new governments that are created. But the biggest part is that we have these new skills being developed so that we have new occupations. Okay, so we go from a society of hunter-gatherers to a society of farmers, which then allow this agricultural revolution, which leads us into new occupations, people being able to do new jobs. From this, we have government, okay? And these governments form for a couple of reasons. One is to keep order in society and provide its citizens services. For example, laws, things of that nature, because without laws, society would completely ruin itself. There would be what's called anarchy, and anarchy is, in theory, it seems fun, but in reality, it's not, because nothing ever gets done. And also, the governments managed these public buildings and ran the irrigation projects that allowed for the surplus of food. Okay, so the first civilizations. So when we talk about first civilizations, we're going to be talking mainly about the Bronze Age. All right, and this is when people start to actually write things down. And someplace at some time, someone was mining away or toiling away in some rocks and found some bronze. All right, and then they, being human and being inquisitive by nature, began to try to meld it and mold it into what they wanted to. And what they found out is that bronze became much more durable, and they were able to form stronger weapons out of it. So this is a huge discovery at the time, because before, everything they made were out of stone and bones. And so a lot of those break and chip, they're fragile, but bronze was much more durable. All right? And because now that they have these new tools and weapons, people start to venture out more as well. We start to have traders, those artisans, those skills that weren't, made up from before. So we have these artisans that are making pottery, they're making tools, weapons, baskets, clothes, cloths, people who are harvesting spices. All of these are getting transported to various regions throughout the world. And we start to have goods, transported by cart. We also have goods transported by ships. People are learning how to create ships and, moving products on the seas and through the rivers, mainly through the rivers at first, but eventually they go to sea travel. And this allows for mixing of cultures. Whereas before, remember when we showed you that map in lesson 1, where you have people spread out and they're kind of isolated from each other, now we have cultures beginning to mix with each other. And if you look back at your family's history and roots, you'll notice that a lot of them have multicultural backgrounds. Some of us do. Myself, I think I have 12 different nationalities in my bloodline, but some of the families may have one or two or three, just depending on where your family comes from. And then lastly, this leads to social classes developing. And social classes will be a big theme throughout our study. And a social class is just basically a group of people having similar backgrounds, incomes, and ways of living. Okay? So the typical social order in the early ages, you have the king at the top, who is the most powerful. Then you have his priests, nobles, who are like government officials and military officers. You have artisans, small traders, and then merchants. Okay? And then the lowest ranking people in the order were workers. So in theory, the social order actually looks like a pyramid, all right, where the very few are at the top, and then each time you go down, you have a larger and larger population there. All right, and then lastly, there are slaves, which were a completely separate category. They weren't even part of the social class. They were their own entity down here, way below everybody else. All right, hopefully you took great notes, and we shall see you in